Hi, everyone. I'm Mariah from GoWP, and I want to welcome you to today's GoWP webinar, How to Create a Proactive Project Management Strategy with our friend Marcus Ohanesian. Really quick, I just want to say a couple of words about GoWP in case anyone watching isn't familiar with us. At GoWP, we create happiness for digital agencies and help them to become more profitable. So, whether you're looking to grow your team with a developer, copywriter, designer, or project manager, or you're interested in outsourcing services so you can focus on growth, we got you covered. We've also built an active community of more than 1,600 agency owners where we hold regular group calls, webinars, and mastermind sessions. So, grow your agency today with GoWP. We are also committed to helping agencies grow through the resources we provide in this community, things like this webinar today. If you have any questions about partnering with GoWP and how we can help your agency, feel free to reach out. I also wanted to tell you about our Facebook group. For those of you watching who may not be a member yet, it is the GoWP Niche Agency Owners Facebook group. Now, this is a community of agency professionals who either already serve a niche market or would like to niche down. We are broadcasting this webinar live in the group now, and this webinar will be available afterward to watch there as well. So go check it out and request to join at facebook.com/groups/niche agency owners. Now, a few notes regarding this webinar. I will be watching the chat, so if you have questions, there is a ask questions button. You can just throw your question there and I'll get them to Marcus. So let's do a quick test of the chat to see if you're watching in the Facebook group or on Chromecast. So go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know where you're from. All right, so let's get to why we're here today. Marcus is the founder of Perfect Evolution, branding and web designer. He's a branding and web designer. He's also a craft beer drinker, a coffee consumer, and a sandwich enthusiast. He's a long time, and that's true. He's a longtime visual designer and project manager, creating clean, engaging, and informative design experiences for small businesses. His talent is bringing your vision to life and collaborating closely with you along the way to fully capture your unique visual style. Your businesses are unique, and so is your brand. And that's how each perfect evolution. I'm sorry, I'm going to take that back. That's how each project for Perfect Evolution takes on and captures the best of his creative and technical expertise refined over his 20 years of visual marketing experiences. And that's what allows his clients to stand out with eye-catching designs that are found by more customers. He's also created a project management course coming in 2022 called Proactive Project Management, which he'll talk a little bit about today. So Marcus, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thanks, GoWP, for having me here. I'm excited to dive into some proactive PM type of conversations. I hope everyone is still punched in, not fully punched out of the holiday weekend yet. I know we're right before Thanksgiving here in the States, so hoping we can have a little engaging discussion conversation after this as well. So I'm going to dive right in here if that's cool with everyone here. Hopefully everyone's got a cup of coffee or hydration station for some water and things. I'm going to share my screen and let's dive in here. All right. I think this worked. Give me a quick little yes, thumbs up. Give me some interactivity here in this chat to let me know you can see my cover slide here. All right. Yep, I think we should be good. Awesome. Thanks, Chelsea. Thanks, GoWP. Sarah, thank you for the response there. So let's dive in. Proactive project management. What the heck does that mean, right? Before we get into that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, why I'm here, who I am, what I like to do. That's me. My name is Marcus Ohanesian. I am a digital project manager, a branding and web designer, and a Shopify strategist. So those are three loaded titles, but I have passions in all three equally. In my free time, I'm also a non-technical person. I'm a human being that has another life other than being in front of a screen. So I've been a drummer my whole life. I love to go play drums. I've played in bands. I've gone on tour with bands in the past. So I have another whole side of my music industry world. I love coffee and craft beer as well. And I also love talking, discussing, and eating and enjoying sandwiches. I think a lot of people in the GoWP happy hour group, the GoWP Facebook group that we have with the happy hour, everyone knows that I love sandwiches. We've had multiple conversations there. In the chat right now, post what your favorite sandwich is, and we're gonna review these at the end. I'd love to just hear what everyone's favorite sandwiches are. That's not part of this talk. That's just me wanting to get to know you a little bit. So, all right. I'm trying to not get distracted by all the sandwiches coming up in my chat. So let me dive in here. So this is what we're going to go over today. This is what the agenda looks like. We're going to go over the basics, right? Let's zoom out and start from the top about what project management is and the different types of approaches that you're probably used to hearing, right? Like you're either an agency owner, you may be an existing digital project manager, you may be managing a project manager, but either way, you're here because you have some sort of interest in project management. So we'll talk about the basics and the current approach. Then we'll get into the nitty gritty. This whole entire webinar is going to be short and succinct and very action driven. So I'm going to try to talk slow and go through each. But there's about seven proactive tips that I'm going to give you that you could pretty much start implementing tomorrow or maybe next week after the holidays. And then we're going to leave some time for some Q&A after. So at any point throughout this webinar, feel free to click on the Ask a Question button in the webinar. And the GoWP team will keep an eye on that, and we'll spend some time after. If you're watching the replay, please do comment, and I'll also have my email and things like that. So definitely don't let the replay stop you from asking questions. I'm always here, and I love obviously chatting about this stuff. So let's dive in here. Let's talk about the basics. Let's zoom out. Let's take it from the top. What the heck is project management, right? From a core definitional level. It's a leader of managing an online project from concept to completion, usually within some sort of budget and some sort of proposed timeline. And then there's a resource component, right? You're using a certain team or team members to complete those things. And of course that, you can trickle that down into different other components as well. But that's the most basic definition you can probably get to for a digital project management. So the way I kind of see it is project management can be divided into reactive project management and proactive project management, which is why we're here. So reactive project management would be sort of looking at the past activities to determine what's next to be done and sticking within a specific project scope. And it slowly becomes an exercise in firefighting. And it's really not scalable for a service and solutions provider. So it's always trying to keep your head above water and stay above water to just get to that next step. So whereas proactive project management is sort of the inverse of that. It's one's ability to see the impact of the current progress that you're working on and look into the future for relationship nurturing, resulting in more billable work from the client. So it's almost an exercise of not firefighting, but fortune telling and future forecasting, basically. So you're always going to be one step ahead. And that's more of that proactive approach. And we'll get into how you can actually execute that with the proactive lens versus focusing on the day-to-day and kind of not zoomed out. So here's a couple examples of different types of behavior for reactive PMs versus proactive project managers. So under the relationship side, reactive project managers, they're constantly dealing with angry clients. Their clients are constantly coming to them for missed deadlines, over budget projects or tasks or ticket. They're always angry because the proactive PMs end up getting thank yous from those clients because you've already flagged the budget ahead of time to say, hey, we're trending towards going over budget for this project, or hey, we're not going to hit this deadline because there's the dependencies that we are not going to be able to hit for this deadline. So you're actually looking out in their best interest from a relationship standpoint. And what client doesn't like that, right? So that's part of the value that we're providing to the client, is always just looking out for them as if we're a part of their team as well. So risks, reactive project managers are always dealing with project risks in real time as it's happening. So oh crap, there's a fire happening. This thing blew up. The site is down, which is the common case that hopefully not a lot of people have to deal with. But the risk is happening in real time, and you're firefighting and trying to figure out how to just put that fire out and then move on. Whereas proactive project managers, we're identifying that risk ahead of time and flagging it and having those early conversations, even if it's just a quick, simple email, or if it results in a 32-hour-long Zoom call, right? You're just bringing it to the clients ahead of time and having that conversation, because they're trusting you, right? You're the project manager, and I've been using this analogy recently of you're the conductor of the orchestra. So you're up here, you know the exact piece of music that you're playing from top to bottom, and you're conducting the orchestra, which is the teams, which could be the client or your internal team. And you're telling people to do this one thing over here and do these other things here. And then you're moving the music or the project along this journey. And you can use other analogies like, you're the train conductor. Basically, you're in charge of the ship here and you're moving it through. So they're trusting you to know and to understand the full breadth and scope of work, but also understand what's coming up in the pipeline as well. So communication, reactive project managers are always just overwhelmed. They may be visually stressed out during meetings due to really poor time management on their end. So they're showing up on these Zoom calls for status meetings, and the goal there is to obviously make the client feel warm and at ease, right? So proactive project managers are coming on these calls and they're staying calm and collected, and they're really driving the meeting agenda towards decisions being made and action items that will come out of that meeting. And they're taking notes so then they can process all those notes and action items. So you can kind of see the difference there of taking this proactive approach where you're always ending with the client in mind. And of course, the client's going to recognize that. So it's not an easy task, but if you have the core principles of project management in place, then you can kind of expand upon that and get better about keeping an eye out for all these potential risks and dependencies that are in the pipeline. So let's talk a little bit about what the current approach is for project management. I'm sure a lot of the people watching this webinar have digital agencies. So a website full build, for example, could be one. Let's dive into what that looks like now, and then we can talk about some of the ideas after that. So this is the current approach probably. And I'm obviously generalizing here for the sake of an example, but the sales team or you or the agency owner sells a full build project, maybe a retainer or a maintenance project, or even maybe a discovery project to the client. Or the sell is, whatever, a branding project or an SEO project, but you get the idea. You sold something to the client, and there's some sort of SOW or scope or proposal, which is basically the framework for that project and probably has an associated cost as well. So after the client says, yep, let's go, we're ready, we want to sign on, you start kind of dissecting that project plan into different phases, right? There could be a discovery phase to start, and then you dive into architecture or design, if it's a full build project for a website, and then you're diving into the development and QA and launch. So you kind of see it extracted and zoomed out for different phases. And you're taking the individual tasks out of those phases, and you're taking care of those items on a task level, right? But you're primarily staying within those lanes, right? Just to get the scope and project done, which is great, right? You don't want to go out and be doing out of scope items and using up the budget. So once that's complete, we usually have a meeting, or we ask the client, say, hey, what would you like us to work on next? Like, we got the website launch, it went well, we stayed within those lanes. And then you start working on some sort of backlog, right? Or the next phase. And that's usually dictated by the client. The client says, all right, great. So now that we've got the website done, we want to start tackling this next project for next year. This whole entire conversation that you're having at the end should actually happen at the beginning of the project, not at the end. So why? That whole entire conversation, there's ideas that are popping up. There's maybe the client has lots of these big vision ideas, and that wasn't included in the initial scope. So you don't want to just shoot the idea down. You can add that to your backlog. You can add that to, hey, let me just make a note of that. We're going to keep it and we're going to postpone it to phase 2. That's keeping you still in the lanes of the current project and SOW and budget, but you're still respecting and appreciating the ideas. So you always want to start by having those proactive conversations at the beginning of the project or the beginning of the relationship and working on the existing project that they signed on for, but also making note of any Slack conversations, email threads, project management conversations inside the tasks to basically just put those in your back pocket, acknowledge them and say, thank you for bringing this up. I'm gonna spin up a new ticket or a new task, and we'll add that to our backlog, digital back pocket, as I like to call it. So looks like we're doing pretty well on time so far. There's lots of sandwich conversations over there, which I like to see. So let's dive into some ideas and results. So as I mentioned, I think I got about 7 proactive tips of things you can basically implement as early as tomorrow in order to start phrasing and shifting your mindset of this project management approach. The goal here is that we're nurturing client relationships with a value-driven mindset. So you can nurture client relationships within your current project, but we're doing it with this mindset to always be proactive and providing the value upfront. So the client's never second guessing, why are we paying this client X amount of dollars? That this project feels a little stale. We haven't heard from this project manager in a month now, or hopefully not a month, maybe a week or so. But you're always coming to the table proactively, and it's with that value-driven approach. So proactive tip number 1. I unfortunately call this ABAB. It doesn't really roll off the tongue as I thought it would, but it's always be building a backlog. If you can come up with a better acronym for that, please let me know, and we can rephrase it somehow. So you want to use your project management tool. Hopefully you have a project management tool in place at this point, whether it's Asana, Monday, ClickUp, Basecamp, whatever it is, or Jira. You want to use that to keep track of all of your nice to have ideas throughout the project. So consider this your digital back pocket. As these ideas come up before project completion during meetings, Slack, or any sort of communication channel, just create a simple task or a ticket in your project management tool in a separate folder from the current project. And then you can resurface those after the project. So again, this doesn't have to be a fully fleshed out ticket with like all the technical requirements and an approved budget and estimate. Just literally make it a 1 or 2 sentence thing to remind yourself of what it is. And then you can always come back to that. And if they choose not to go forward with that idea, you can always just close out the ticket or task or delete it. But at least you have it there and you're not losing it and you're not starting from scratch once the project is launched. So always be building a backlog. So proactive tip number 2, make use of your downtime. We ran out of work. What can we work on? So maybe there's a little slump in the sales team, or maybe you don't have any incoming work that you or your team's working on. Use this as an opportunity to, besides focusing on maybe process or reevaluating your tool set, whatever it may be, scan and audit your clients' websites for any opportunities around performance and speed and time to first byte and Google Web Vitals. Tools like my web audit are great here. Cliff's got a great tool over there. This really gives you a good framework and template even to work off of, and then you can expand that. But this gives you something to provide that quick value. So you're not recreating the wheel every time, but you're able to punch in a URL, check off some boxes, you get some sort of PDF report that will give you a good foundation. And obviously because of that, there are lots of actionable, potentially billable tasks and tickets that you could put towards a retainer, for example, to start using those hours. And this is another proactive approach where you're coming to the client and saying, hey, I know you're not in the code, in the website code to see all of this, but we can actually reorder some scripts, or this script is loading on the homepage when it only needs to load on the product page or whatever it may be. So quick little things like that are super easy to spin up. Also, besides you, teach your team to be proactive about surfacing new maintenance billable work. So more importantly, we can surface the opportunities that may exist where we can provide value. So I'm not a developer. Your client is most likely not a developer, but your developer is a developer and they understand the code that they're looking at or that they've written or that they've taken over for a maintenance client or something. So have them audit the code and find the problematic code that could be improved upon. So it could be a piece of feature or functionality that they could find a better way to architect. And that's being proactive, because otherwise your client has no idea that this even exists. So it's a little bit more of an exercise to sell them on a faster performing site that could be a speed enhancement there, or something that's maybe mobile specific. So teaching your team and empowering your team to really find some time to audit the code there. Proactive tip number 4, find ways to save the client money. I know I like saving money. There's literally shows about people doing coupons, so they like saving money. I don't know who doesn't like to save money, right? Including our clients. So this is another way to pretend like you're a part of their team, right? Like you're trying to save them money. So audit their current tools and their apps and processes around valuable business objectives. So strategize and architect a more affordable or equally or better efficient solution. So really look at some of the tools that they're using. It's almost more of like a business consultant role, if you want to kind of think of it that way. But you can kind of audit what they're using. And we're more engulfed in this world of technology than most of our clients probably are. So we'll probably have a better idea of, oh, maybe Zapier, the automation tool, could be a good use here. And that would save you 30 minutes out of every week that you're doing to do X, Y, Z. So we have a better idea to come to the table to potentially save them money. So that's another tip to kind of come to the table proactively to the client. So proactive tip number 5, create solutions out of need. So really dig into your clients' businesses a bit to find out some of their costs. So it kind of goes back to the last slide, but find out what tools they're using and what services that they're leveraging in their current process, and find areas that can be improved in the areas of the cost of the tool, which obviously they would save money, the performance load on the front end. So you're building a better user experience for their user and customer on the front end of their website. And then process operations and automation, where you're saving them time. So that's the value there. That's the pitch to them, is we can set these operational automation things up and you're going to save X amount of time, and time is money nowadays. So looking at that, again, is sort of that business consultant role. And this is more of like my agency owner hat versus my project manager hat. But these are all proactive things that you can come to the table with. And the worst a client is going to say is, no, thanks. We're all set. We're actually, we don't like saving money, or we're all set. We don't need an audit. We actually just had someone else do that, for example, But again, as long as you're bringing the ideas to them, they're never going to really second guess the relationship or how successful you are in that partnership that you have with them. So the last couple here, always try to be aware and in tune. And what I mean by that is, again, integrate yourself into your client's team. You guys are a partnership. You're not this workhorse. You're not the service provider. You're providing solutions as this partnership that you've both agreed to on. So how do you stay aware and in tune by asking the client? And here's a couple. So number 6, as their online partner, we need to always be aware of what their business goals are every quarter, every month, and even every week. So a simple thing would be scheduling monthly or quarterly check-ins to kind of zoom out of the day-to-day and focus on these long-term goals and initiatives. So some people you kind of think of this one as more of like an account manager role, right? You're nurturing the relationship and you're kind of checking in to say, hey, I know we're working on these things, which are all going really well right now, but let's zoom out. What does Q1, what does Q2 look like? What are some of those goals that you're working on? Because then you can kind of integrate yourself to see how you can help with the technology requirements, or you can even help them with a business operational process that may need to get solved. So always have those scheduled check-ins. I do this on a monthly basis and just set it up as a recurring meeting in Google Calendar. And we always start the meeting with, how are things with you and how are we performing to you? Are you still happy with the speed and the velocity that we're working at? This is usually for like monthly retainer clients. So every month they have a set of hours. You're having this check-in with them to say, hey, are you still cool? Like, are you still enjoying like our service and our solution and all the team that you're working with? And then it kind of gives them the opportunity. It's usually just a one-on-one with myself and our main stakeholder over there. It gives them the opportunity and the platform to say, yep, you guys are killing it. You guys are doing so great. We're super happy. Or, hey, we had a couple issues last month that I'd like to talk to you about. So it just opens up that floor. And again, it's more of just keeping that open communication channel there. Last proactive tip, number 7 here. This may sound like a no-brainer, but if you aren't already on your client's email list, sign up on their marketing list. Get a grasp for what types of promotions they're running. So this will help you stay informed, offer improvements, and get a feel for where they're heading. I also like to call out typos and links that happen in my clients' things in the emails that I get from them. Not to call them out and make them feel bad, but you're proactively reaching out to them, say, hey, there was this spelling mistake that you may want to fix for next month, especially if it's in the template that they're using. So you can obviously reference a lot of these things too when you're getting emails about a promotion or a new product that they just launched. And then on the next meeting, you say, hey, how did that product release go? Or how's sales on this? Or, you can make references and spin up conversations more than just talking about the weather, right? It's pretty boring when every Zoom call is it snowing where you are? Is it raining? No, talk about things that actually matter. And of course, no one likes getting email, right? No, so just use the Gmail rules with filters. Send them to a different folder. That's what I have, just titled newsletters. But there's rules in place so it doesn't clog up my inbox. And then I may, once a week or so, I'll go in that folder and I'll read them. I'll skim them. Maybe there's nothing actionable for each one, but at least I'm just processing it in the back of my mind. So you can kind of filter that out there. So we are basically all of those tools, the tips there, the 7 tools and tactics here. We're surfacing opportunities that provide that proactive value to the client. Those are all things that you could be doing every day, every week, every month, every quarter to come to the table with your client to say, I care about you. We're partners. I value that you're paying my bills. I value that you have increased my agency's recurring revenue by X amount of dollars. And here's the things that I want to provide. You're inspired to help them because it's going to help you, basically, so you're working together to grow both of your businesses at the same time versus taking their money, doing the thing that they want, and then hopefully they don't leave you and you're not asking how things are. You're coming to the table and making sure and checking it, So to summarize here, using all of these different ideas in the 7 different ideas that I just showed in this proactive approach, we've generated over $1 million in revenue for our clients over this past year. So because of that, because we came to the table with these billable ideas, and because I took notes at the beginning of our relationship, I put things in my back pocket, I've saved those. And then once we launch, we have that phase 2 conversation. We tackled all of that work. We've generated lots of billable hours that may not have been there. So thank you so much for listening to this proactive project management conversation with myself so far. I would love to involve the chat here. Little tip here, I have an online course coming out early 2022. So sign up for updates. You can be notified of that if you're interested. It's proactivepmcourse.com. There's a little email capture there. If you have any questions, let's definitely continue this conversation. My email is here. I'll help you come up with at least one billable proactive idea to test out. So no cost, no charge there, just one offer that I'd like to do to help you out, to kind of set you off and get that conversation started with your client. So hit me up on LinkedIn as well. I'm there. I'm in the GoWP group on Facebook as well. I'm most of the time on the happy hours, depending on my schedule. So please, let's continue this conversation and sign up on my email list if you don't mind to be notified when we launch this course, hopefully early 2022. So that does it for me. I hope there's some questions because I'd love to stop talking and have an interactive conversation with the people chatting here, besides sandwiches.
Well, that's never a dull topic, sandwiches. Thank you. Go ahead and start dropping those questions into the chat. You just select the ask a question button and insert your question there. If this is your first time seeing and engaging with Marcus, I have to share that he is one of the most helpful contributors on our weekly happiness hour calls. So please, take him up on his offer to help you, find those good ideas that you can implement for your project management projects. Kim Ortiz says, "Great presentation, Marcus."
Thanks,
Kim. I concur, Kim. While we wait for the other questions to come through the chat, Marcus, I had a couple of questions on some of the notes that I took.
Yeah.
And I have to say to everyone, there's no dumb questions, and I'm about to demonstrate that right now. When we talk about reactive project management versus proactive project management, Are there ever moments, either in the lifespan of an agency, in the experience level of a project manager, that elements of reactive project management are appropriate, or should reactive project management be avoided at all times by any?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is a good question. Let's be real. Crap happens. I'm censoring myself because I don't know who's watching this, but you plan for the best, right? And that's usually hopefully how it goes, but things happen and it's okay that you're going to have to be reactive. It's only realistic to look at it from that lens. So I think in specific cases, reactive project management is definitely applicable. But for the most part, proactive PM will kind of save your butts in the future. It's a future-proof way to grow the relationship with your client from the start.
Mm-hmm. And I like all of the elements of your presentation today that were teaching our participants today how to foster those healthy, valuable relationships with, through project management. Those are really golden nuggets, as Jay. I'm going to steal your phrase, Jay. Wonderful. Nice. Golden nuggets.
Thanks,
and since you referenced your online course that's coming in 2022, I want to share David Stansberry question. He says, is there any certification with the program?
Yeah, that's a great question, David. Thanks for asking that. I've been toying around with the idea of that. There's going to be some sort of certification. I don't know how in-depth it'll be. You'll definitely get some sort of cool PDF that you can save and print out and put on your fridge to show mom so she can be proud of you. But we might develop some badges that you can put on your agency site. But you'll have some sort of gold medal basically as you pass the course. So those things are sort of still being fleshed out right now, but everything you saw in this presentation is sort of the skeleton, the bare bones of this course. And I'm going to be building it out with a lot more content in between each of those slides. And then also having videos like this where you have to listen to me talk about certain things. And we'll have some PDF downloadable worksheets to kind of go along. So you'll definitely get your money's worth there as far as things to take with you.
Cool. David's very happy with your response. Sarah asks a question. She says, how can you use proactive PM to educate clients and set expectations for how the website launch process will work?
That's an awesome question. Thanks for asking, Sarah. So a couple of different ways. Over communicate, I guess, to kind of dwindle it down to one word or one phrase, is just over communicate. Not to say that you have to have lots of meetings and check-ins and blow out the budget, but selectively choose what you're communicating in your status updates. Hopefully you're doing status updates even if it's just a monthly thing or a full build project. But you want to basically educate the client on your process. A lot of clients, from my experience, don't understand how websites are made or work. Well, they may understand how they work, but they may not understand how they are built with design and development and functionalities and stuff. So, and again, they don't have to. That's why they're hiring us. But the process of how do we get from discovery or architecture into design, and what are the approvals? So having that accountability. You don't want to let a client know when you're sending the link to review something that they need, you need a response in 2 days. You're going to give them that ahead of time and say, here's your project timeline. Here's who's responsible for what, and here's when we need it for. And because it's due on this date, it's dependent on this, and kind of just talking out the whole entire process from soup to nuts, from top to bottom, basically. So over educate, over communicate, and that way it gives them the opportunity to ask more questions if they don't understand anything. And that's, the launch process obviously is very unique to everyone's agency and team, but it is the PM's job to communicate to that, especially in such a high stress phase of the project, right? Launch, especially if the client is launching their first website. They don't know. They think the world's going to blow up once you click that magic launch button, right? Everyone has that, right? There's always a button that just says launch website. I wish. It was that easy.
but that's the magical term, Sarah. Thanks for bringing it up. Setting expectations, I think, is the way to avoid so much stress in life, professionally and personally. One topic that comes up a lot on webinars and happiness hour calls and other formats, is the topic of tools. And you referenced that today, Marcus. I wanted to see if you wanted to add anything else. I know a lot of agency owners who I've encountered are always reconsidering, is this the right tool? Or if I just had another tool, then all of my ails will be solved. Is there any other advice you want to convey about selecting tools?
Yeah, definitely. I have my own thoughts. And again, this is just personal from my own experience and how I manage projects and have run projects. I'm going to be pretty selective about my words here. There's lots of sites out there, especially with Black Friday happening, where everyone gets the shiny object syndrome, right? There's sales going on for all these new tools that you might have heard about in online or in Facebook groups or people talking about it. But don't fall into the trap. Save some money. Give yourself a budget if you want even, but use the tool that does the 1 or 2 or 3 things the best and really focus on the core features that you're looking for. And I'm in that middle of that process right now. I'm actually moving to a different project management tool. I've been with one for a while. If anyone's interested, we can chat after about which one that is and what I'm considering. But I basically looked at that and audited my own tool and said, here are the must-haves, the hard requirements that I absolutely need for this new project management tool. And I'm only focusing on those. And there's a lot of tools that do that plus 13 other things, and that's fine, but that actually may be overkill. So try to stay lean and mean and focused on what your end goal is. If it's just client communication, if it's managing tasks, if it's a timeline, anything, around the PM tool, keep it lean and keep it super laser focused. And that will help you kind of stay driven of not all the other things around it, the shiny object syndrome.
Excellent advice. Yeah, and that aligns with what Jay mentioned too in the chat. He was asking about management portals for updates, reporting, and ongoing communications as well.
Yep. Yeah, I do some of that communication in the project management tool. It depends on what phase we're in, but I have templates. I have certain email templates or status messages that I've been using. And we keep it simple with that as well. Clients don't have a lot of time. They don't want to read a huge 5-page PDF just to get an update on where we are with the project. So keep that simple and lean and mean as well.
One thing too that in your presentation that really stuck out to me was how by being proactive, everyone's getting empowered, and it's, I'm sure, impacting confidence in the project and in the teams involved. I really loved what you said about empowering your team to look for opportunities, to discover, billable actions. And I think in the long run, that makes everyone enjoy the experience of working together a lot more. How long how did you learn to emphasize empowering the clients and team members? Was it just a matter of time of discovering it, or one incident that made you realize this isn't working this direction?
Yeah, I think it was really just a matter of time. You can't fake confidence, right? Whether it's yourself or anybody else, people will see through that. And it doesn't usually end well if you're faking it. I did it from the start to really own that from my own perspective, to be proactive, but also with certain developers, I feel like I'm gonna generalize here, but a lot of developers like to stay in their little development cave and don't want to be on client meetings and certain things like that. So let's empower them to do what they like to do, is be in the code, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll give you an example of a developer I was working with. I think this was for a Shopify site. They had an app that they were paying for that powered to do this one feature. And we had a little dull time in the project. We were waiting on some client approvals for the specific project. And I told him, hey, let's be proactive and let's audit and see if we can surface any stuff for post-launch. So he looked at the cost of this one tool and he looked at what it did on the site, and it didn't do it very well, but that's what we were using at the time. He came back with like a 1-page proposal and said, here's what we use, here are the costs, here's what I can bring to the table. We can redesign this, we can make it ourselves. So this goes back to that create solutions out of need slide that I had, we actually built a custom tool. I'm not saying this is what everyone should do. Obviously, building a custom tool is a huge project and a big undertaking. But this was a very simple app to do what it was. So he was like, I can do this. I can write the code that they are using basically, but better. And I can make the site faster, and I can save the client money because they're not going to pay a monthly fee for us to manage the app. It's just going to be code on your website. So I broke out all the costs to the client, because obviously that's what the client cares about, is you're paying this much money for this app for the year on a monthly billing cycle. You can hire us to do it for a one-time fee of 50, 60, 100 hours, whatever it was. And you're going to pay this upfront, but in the long term, you can actually save $1,500 a year because you don't have to use that app anymore. And we did that. Client was on board, said, thank you so much. That's awesome. I would have never known to look at that type of stuff, you know? So we ended up getting that as like a small add-on project. We did it on for phase 2. So we launched with the tool because it worked well, but we could make it work better with our own code. And their support wasn't the best, so that kind of added some more ammo and information and supporting content for myself to say, hey, they haven't really been super responsive. So, you know, if we want to scale the site, it'd be nice to have us here anyway. We're already here maintaining your site. So it kind of worked out there as a creating your own tool basically out of a problem, but relying on your developers to proactively bring that stuff up. Right. And again, you can always just delete the idea, you cross it off, but at least you did that exercise to figure it out. Absolutely. And just that exercise, I just go so far into establishing that sense of authenticity with your client, and ultimately adding value to your relationship. Yep. I think Joanne just shared, what's common sense to you is not common sense to your client. Absolutely. Yeah, that's perfect. While we await those any last questions that may stream in, would you like to talk a little bit more? You know, 2022 is right around the corner. Would you like to talk a little bit more about the courses that are coming? Yeah, well, it's just this one proactive project management course for now. Who knows? I may come up with a couple more that I saw the need for something like this, which is why I'm doing these presentations and things. But like I said, the core structure of the course is going to be what I just presented. And we're going to dive into each of those a little bit more and peel back the layers of the onion, as some people say, and really dive into some more tips and tactics and strategies and mindsets and thinking and approaches to this proactive project management. And as I mentioned, we'll have some PDFs that you can print out or interactively fill out on your computer that you could use, and you can also share and take it back to your team. So if you're one project manager among a team of other project managers, you can help spread the proactive project management message with these little workshops, the PDFs that we'll give you. And then I'm still debating of sort of the technical structure here. I don't know if it's going to be a community where you're going to be able to interact with other students taking the course. You'll definitely be able to interact with me, whether it's leaving comments or having a form where you can send me questions. I kind of pride myself on just being super accessible, which is why I have my email listed here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finalizing this right now. I'm talking to a couple different project management communities to partner up with as well, and offering it on their platform. So we're still kind of finalizing some details. And if you sign up on the proactivepmcourse.com, you'll be notified when we're gearing up for launch. That's so exciting. And I love the mind shifts and sharing the gospel of proactive project management. Amen, brother. David Stansberry has a question. He says, regarding timing and task switching, how do you manage and record your time with clients when you're sending multiple emails throughout the day? He also says, it always interrupts my workflow on longer tasks, and sometimes it's hard to track effectively. Yeah, David, you're not alone. That's a great question. And I think everyone that works on a computer deals with that poor time management or the struggle of time management, productivity. A couple of things that I've really tried to own and implement in my day-to-day is bulk working and scheduling it in my calendar. I do not have my inbox open in a tab, and I don't leave it there throughout the day like some people do. I try to go with inbox 0. But I basically, when I'm in email zone, I'm in email zone, and I'm responding to emails, and I'm not doing the things. I'm not looking at the emails and doing tasks if they're going to take longer than 5 minutes. I'm adding them to my to-do list and then archiving the email. That way I'm just in my email doing what I need to do and getting out of that and closing out that tab and not going back. So I always have a morning chunk in my calendar, and it could honestly just be, 30 minutes to 1 hour, right? If not longer, where I'm going through my inbox, or I'm actually getting, production work done. I'm doing some sort of actual work, and I'm literally just quitting out my Slack. I'm quitting my email. I don't want anyone bothering me. At the end of the day, I always make this joke with colleagues that it's just the website, guys. Like, at the end of the day, we're not doing surgery, open heart surgery here. It's a website. Like, things will move on unless the site is down, right? Or unless it's like revenue impacting. If it's an e-commerce store and you can't place an order, that's a problem. Sure, we can escalate that. That's where that reactive project management may come into play. But honestly, respect yourself and respect your own time. In Google Calendar, whatever calendar tool you use will be good. Treat it like a meeting, basically, is kind of how I have to train my brain. Even though I'm reporting to myself here in this meeting that I put in my own calendar, I'm holding myself accountable, basically. So treat it like that, and really be diligent or militant even about making sure that you don't have your inbox open and you're not staying reactive with every email that comes in, because now you're giving away your time to the client. I could go on for another 3 hours about time management and productivity. Maybe that's my next course.
The next webinar.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, treating your time as valuable as you would treat your own client's time as well is the right thing to do. I think Joanne just shared a quote from Greg McKeown: "If you don't prioritize your time, someone else will."
Exactly.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. This has been a fabulous discussion and presentation. For anyone who's listening or watching and wants to get Marcus's attention now while he's here live, get that question in. We'll give you another few moments, and then we'll let him get back to making his next sandwich. Actually, is it time for us to revisit the sandwich topic? You promised to revisit that.
Yeah. I've been there's been lots of great questions coming in, and I totally forgot that we wanted sandwiches. So I got banh mi, which is great. Monte Cristo. Man loves sandwiches. Yes, I do love sandwiches. Curry tofu salad sandwich. Sarah, that sounds interesting. And another Sarah looks like did a tomato feta and basil, which sounds also delicious. Classic tuna sandwich from Andy. A fried egg sandwich. Wow. Jake's got a pastrami. Classic. Can't go wrong with a good pastrami. Philly cheesesteak too. Yep. Depending where you get it. I'm very picky about it, and I'm not even from Philadelphia. It's like everyone's doing those now, but there's a right way to do it.
Yeah. No offense, Subway, but you're not really the best.
Yeah, I really hope Subway isn't watching this webinar, like a project manager over at Subway.
But not to say I haven't ordered them before from you, Subway. But yeah, coming from the Northeast originally, I hear you.
Yeah, you got to try it at least,
Yeah. Got to be proactive in what problems they could run into. Jay says, "Love that work. It's 100% with you. He's unapologetically controls his time. He responds to 2 emails 2 times a day."
Love that.
Yeah,
that's great, Jay. Keep it up. You're doing a great job. That's really awesome to see. And again, it's just a mental shift, right? It's just everyone's so used to having your email open, and you want to do that one thing. Oh, it's only going to take 5 minutes. Let me just please this client more. Well, you're just being reactive in that way. And you're going to get more out of actually doing other work, moving your company, your agency ahead, or moving your project ahead. Email will always be there. Your inbox is always going to be open. Unfortunately, that's the case. But there's always emails there. Don't have to respond to that quick email on a Friday at 6 o'clock right before you just snooze it. Put it to Monday at 7 a.m. Whatever, The idea can wait. It's just the website. We're not doing open heart surgery here. It's a website. It's important, but at the same time, value yourself and value your own time to respect yourself.
Kim Ortiz, she's already closed her tab, her email tab after listening.
Good job. I may send you an email after this, but you can respond to that whenever you'd like.
She's got sandwiches to think about. She doesn't have time to answer your emails right now.
That's
Well, Marcus, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you. This conversation and this presentation has been wonderful. And Vicky shared she uses the focus option on her Mac, so she doesn't get alerted anytime.
That's
it's
great.
awesome. Great idea. And I recently have gotten to the point of I love being able to communicate with my team in real time via Slack. But I've gotten to the point that there are times that notification has got to be turned off. It's I'm getting like these reactions to it now.
Oh yeah,
So
I'm a big fan of the snooze notifications in Slack. So even if you got to have it up, I'm snoozing them right now. I literally just quit it out. But especially when I'm on taking PTO time, some people don't know that you're on PTO or wasn't communicating. It's just like there's so much stuff always happening in Slack that I don't want any notifications on my phone for that, especially if I'm not mentally thinking about work and I'm supposed to be in a different place.
Well, and I'm not. I'm a proud member of Gen X, and so I can say that I grew up at a time where I remember where everyone wasn't reachable at every moment of the day, and
Yeah,
I guess for anyone born after that, that's not a reality, but it did happen, boys and girls. Once upon a time,
yeah,
you had to return.
Yeah, there's a thing. You had to go home, and there was a landline phone. It had a voicemail, and you had to check your messages.
Right. Right.
People would call, and you were still plugged into the wall. You couldn't leave.
Right. And sometimes you didn't even know who was calling. When they called until they said who they were. Crazy world. I don't know how we all made it survive that, but we did. Great. Well, so many valuable tips today. And again, like Marcus said at the top of the webinar, if you are viewing this in replay, feel free to still reach out to him and ask those questions that weren't posed by our live audience today. But Marcus, thank you for everyone watching and listening. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
Thank you, Jay, for a reminder. A happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Have a safe holiday. Thank you, Joanne, for womaning the chat. You're awesome.
Thank you, GoWP team. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.